But I also thought about that. Woo-hoo. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and today I'm coming to you with my 24 books that I'd like to read in 2024. For this video, I'm not going to give detailed synopses because, first of all, I haven't read any of these books. Second of all, there are 24 of them. So we would be here all day if I did that. This would become a feature-length film. So I'm going to share the titles, share the authors, maybe share a couple of reasons why it's on my 24 and 24, and that's gonna be it. Throughout the year, I'm gonna work on reading these and you'll see them in vlogs or shorts or where have you. So you'll see them on sprints even, and you'll see what I think of them and get more synopses as I read them and get more of my thoughts. But for today, we're gonna keep it short and sweet on each book because there's 24 of them.
This was a cute booktube challenge when the years were smaller, but as the years get bigger, it's a lot of books, y'all.
24 books is a lot of books. But anyway, let's dive in and see what 24 books I'd like to read in 2024. I have done a mix of physical and Kindle books. I wanted to put a good portion of my books on here from my Kindle because my Kindle has a lot of books on it. And it is also the place where the books go to die and forget that I own them. So I picked from both places. I picked 12 physical and 12 Kindle books. Let's dive into the physical books first. It is the year that I am going to start Wheel of Time, and I'm going to read Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. I'm doing a read along for this on the Fable app. The link is always in the description box down below. We're starting in January. So I know I'm going to be reading this book. I know I'm finally going to get into this very large, chunky fantasy series. I own most of the books, and some of the books I own ×2. I have these covers, and then I have the vintage fantasy covers. Why I have so many copies of a series that I don't own, we're not going to look too closely at that. It's the first one going on this very long stack of 24 books. Eye of the World is a chunky book, and I did not want it to feel alone, so I put on another chunky book, and that is Dune by Frank Herbert. This is a sci-fi book. I want to read more sci-fi this year, so that's really the only reason it's on this list. The other reason is it's taking up a lot of room on my shelves. I have the first 3 books in the series, 4, something like that. I have a few. The first book is very chunky. I need to decide if this is something I like or want to keep or want to continue getting. Does it need room on my shelves? I don't know because I haven't read it. So I'm going to read Dune this year. Next, we have a fairly new acquisition to my shelves, and it's a book that I was actually really sad I did not get to in November. And that is To Shape a Dragon's Breath by Monoquill Blackgoose. This book I picked up shopping for Red Books for Team Scarlet. I was really excited to get to this book, but it just didn't work out. Didn't work for any of the prompts or for any of the punishments that Team Scarlet had, and I just didn't get to it, and I want to read this book so badly. This book follows an indigenous woman who enters a colonizer-run dragon academy and quickly finds herself at odds with the approved way of doing things. I love books with dragons. Anything with a dragon is a win. I want to read more indigenous authors this year, so this book had to make it on this list. And honestly, I've been devastated that I haven't gotten to it yet. Every day when I look at my shelves and I see it still sitting there, I'm like, why have you not read this yet? Didn't work for Get a Clue. Didn't really fit into the holiday season, but it's happening very early in 2024. This book was a most anticipated release for me. It was a pre-order. I didn't get to it. People have been shaming me for not reading it. And that is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I know I'm going to love this book. I loved Babel. Babel is the first book I read this year. And I'm kind of thinking that Yellowface is going to be the first book I read in 2024. I love starting my year off with R.F. Kuang, so I think I'm going to do it again. As part of my year of sci-fi, I want to read a prequel to a book that I really enjoyed a couple of years ago, and that was To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. So I will be reading Fractal Noise. When I pre-ordered this, I was expecting this to be a lot larger because To Sleep in a Sea of Stars is huge, but this is actually not that bad. So I should be able to knock this out this year, no problem. It's not very big. I loved To Sleep in a Sea of Stars, gave it 5 stars, really loved it. So I'm interested to see what this prequel follows, exactly what it brings to the series, and see if it stands out as well as To Sleep. Emily Eternal by M.G. Whedon is another sci-fi book I need to get to. This cover is gorgeous, and I think the synopsis is so interesting. It follows Emily. She's a student at MIT, but she is not a regular student. She is actually an artificial consciousness created by the students of MIT. I think this sci-fi is really poignant for right now with all the talk of AI that is currently going on, which is a really important conversation to be having. And I'm intrigued to see how the author kind of goes in the direction of this book. I have not read Iron Widow yet, and I need to because so many people that I know and trust their opinions loved this book. This has a strong female main character. It's a fantasy, but there's also talk of aliens, so I could almost maybe swing it as part of my year of sci-fi. Maybe, I don't know how much the aliens have to do with the book, but they are in the synopsis, so who knows? It is such a beautiful cover to have on my shelves, and I need to know how beautiful the book is on the inside as well. So many people that I know love this book, so I have very high expectations. The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. I have not read any Frida McFadden books yet. How is that possible? I love thrillers. And Frida McFadden just kind of seems to be like taking over the thriller genre. I have been seeing people reading this author everywhere, and I need to know what all the fuss is about, so I'm finally going to get to The Housemaid. One of my goals for this year is to read more translated works, and one of the books on my shelves that I have is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This book is a book about books. I love a book about books. It is set in like a library that's like a labyrinth, and there's a cemetery of forgotten books. Do you need to know anything else? Cemetery of forgotten books, book about books. That explains all the reasons it is on this list. Another series that has been sitting on my shelves for a very long time, and I am honestly embarrassed to say I have not read it, is The Ember and the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. I have no excuse, everyone. I need to pick up this series. It's a beloved one, and I haven't read it. So I need to decide if I like it enough to keep it, and the only way to do that is to read it. Time to Shine was on Timmy's TBR for the end of the year, and it did not get done for reasons. It got pushed into January for a collab video that you will see in January, so this is definitely getting read. It's a queer hockey romance. It's set in Canada. I'm so excited to read this. People who've gone to it before me have really liked it, and I have very high hopes for this, and I know I'm going to be reading it in January for that collab video. The last physical book on this list is Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. This, I suspect, is something satirical. However, I thought that about How to Kill Your Family earlier in the year, and that was much darker than I anticipated, but I still think this is satirical. On the back, it says, Everyone in my family has killed someone. Some of us, the high achievers, have killed more than once. Have I killed someone? Yes, I have. Who was it? Let's get started. The concept seems really neat, so on the list it goes. Okay, let's jump into the Kindle books. The first one I have is Hunt the Stars by Jessie McCallick. This book was recommended to me by Leandra from the TBR Zero. We both want to get into sci-fi more this year. Leandra recommended this to me, and it instantly went on this list because I trust Leandra's opinion about books pretty much all the time. Leandra and I are very similar in how we feel about books. And really interestingly, we discussed how we keep entering eras at the exact same time. We entered a romance era at the same time, and we both independently, not speaking to each other, decided we wanted to read more sci-fi this year. So we are of two minds, and I mean, here we go. Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake has to go on this list. I read Delilah Green in February, and I liked Delilah Green quite a bit, but I did not like Astrid in the book. So the second book followed Astrid, and I was unconvinced to pick it up. I wasn't motivated. Bree from Four Paws in a Books made me by putting it in my roll-up rack, and I am so glad that she did, because I freaking loved the book. It is one of my favorite books of this year. I absolutely loved Astrid's journey, and I cannot wait to finish the Bright Fall series with Iris. The Mystery Writer by Solari Gentle, I actually have the ARC of. It comes out on March 19th, 2024. It's an anticipated release for me. Obviously, I requested the ARC. I really enjoyed The Woman in the Library. It was a murder mystery type book. It wasn't super thrillery, but there was a good murder mystery plot to it. But it was a book within a book, and I really liked the concept, and I'm excited to see if this kind of has a similar vibe, especially since it follows a writer. I had to pick up the next book by Solari Gentle though, because I just really enjoyed the dark academia vibes of the first book. The Traitors by C.A. Lynch comes out on February 1st, and I cannot wait to read this thriller. If you have seen me on Sprints with Demi, you will know that earlier this year, I discovered The Traitors, which is a British reality TV competition show. I do know America and Canada have spin-offs, and I have seen those, but trust me, the British version is so much better. I have never seen a group of people lose the plot so quickly. It was amazing, fantastic. It was one of the best things I've seen on TV all year. So when I saw this book read the synopsis, and realized that it's kind of Traitors coded, I had to read this. I don't know if the author was influenced by the show. It seems like it from the name, the setting, everything about it. So I'm kind of assuming that that's the case, but I needed to read this. So thankfully I got the ARC and I will be reading this sometime before February. I haven't read it yet, so I can't really recommend it, but I am very much anticipating this thriller. Bonded by Thorns is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. That is pretty much all I know about it, but I know some people who have read it earlier this year and absolutely loved this book, so I need to read this because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Technically Yours is on my Kindle because I have a few friends that have been recommending Denise Williams romances to me. This is a STEM romance. It's on my Kindle. I think I got it as part of like a 99-cent sale, and I really want to make sure I give Denise Williams a try this year and see if she is an author for me. I've heard really great things from some people, like I said, so this is the one I'm going to be starting with. I really wanted to get a manga on this list, so I put on Cat Plus Gamer, and this is a manga with a cat. End of discussion. I needed to know no other things to know that I needed to read this book. I want to read more manga this year. I've discovered that I really enjoy manga, so this one has to go on the list, but I am going to be reading way more manga than just this in 2024, but this one, top of the list. The Hanging City by Charlie N. Holmberg was on my Kindle, but not really in my sights to read anytime soon until Danny from Danny Dabbles read it. Danny read it on sprints with me, or started it on sprints and then continued to read it after sprints. And everything Danny was saying about this book made me want to instantly pick this up. It's about a troll city that dangles from the bottom of a bridge. I think I got this on my Kindle from an Amazon Reads First situation. I think that's the only way I can ascertain how it got here. But honestly, Danny has me so hyped to read this book. So it's happening. I'm putting it out there for the universe to hear. It's happening in 2024. I absolutely love Talia Hibbert's writing. I've gotten into it more this year, and I want to continue to work through Talia Hibbert's backlist. So I will be reading The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco. I believe this might have been originally self-pubbed or was self-pubbed. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So I'm expecting this to be very, very spicy, and I'm excited about it. This next book needs no introductions, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. It is a BookTube favorite, and I haven't read it. And to be honest, I don't know if I like cozy fantasy. I haven't read a ton of cozy fantasy to know where I fall on liking it or not, but I'm gonna find out. I'm going to be reading Legends and Lattes this year. I need to get rid of the FOMO that I have over this book, so on the list it goes. Earlier this year, I read A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, and when I was reading that for a vlog, I found out there was a sequel scheduled to come out. I got the ARC of this book, and it's an education in malice, and I cannot wait to get into the vibes of S.T. Gibson again. Another look into a classic vampire novel of Carmilla. The vibes of S.T. Gibson were on point with The Dowry of Blood, and I expect that in this book as well. Can you believe it? But we're on 24. We have almost talked about 24 books. And the last one is another 2024 release, and that is Alison Cochran's new book. I absolutely love Alison Cochran's writing. I will read anything Alison Cochran would like to put pen to paper for, and that's just a fact. This book is Here We Go Again. It is another queer romance by Alison Cochran. I will say this is not actually on my Kindle. That's kind of why I saved it for last. I have a pre-order out for this book. I don't have the ARC for this, but I need to read this book. Very excited to read it. It is one of my most anticipated releases for next year. Okay, we did it. We've talked about 24 books that I'm going to read in 2024. Do any of these align with goals that you have, books that you want to read? Please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.